Hi guys, this is the video of myself playing Giovanni Napic at the Maccabi Open 2009 on the 2nd of August 2009. At this stage I'd been standing up to the table for probably about 8 or 9 days, so still relatively new to standing up against a good player like someone like Giovanni. Giovanni in this one is using mainly on his forehand a very fast rubber. I think it's the T-bar Nimbus or T-bar Sinus, whichever one of those sounds correct. But basically it's a very quick rubber. On his backhand he's still using a Shriver anti-spin, just the Shriver anti from Butterfly, using that similar grip that if you've watched a few of my stuff before you're quite familiar with, where he plays a fairly normal forehand style, turns to a similar grip on the backhand to punch the ball with the fast rubber, and occasionally flips the bat to the anti-side to break up the game, break up the speed and the spin and the pace. So he's again using a combination bat in a slightly different way to the way that I use it, but again making the most of what he's got. So let's get in. This is the first time I've looked at this video, so we'll get in, we'll have a bit of a look, and I'll give you a few of my thoughts as we go through. Essentially what I was trying to do in this match, this was the semi-finals. I'd already qualified from the groups. I was hoping to give Gio a good run. I wasn't expecting to necessarily beat him after only just transferring through this style, but I really wanted to give him a good run and see how I stacked up trying to attack him. So let's get into it and I'll talk you through it. Okay, so we're here, Gio to serve in the first game. My job here is to try and stand up to the table, stay up to the table as much as I can, fight the instincts that I've got to run away from the table too much, and pressure Gio. I'm really looking, I've never played Gio lately, giving him a lot of pressure and trying to struggle and make him work. Obviously didn't work there. So I'm looking to stay up close and really put him under some pressure and see whether I can force him away and change the type of the game. And that's what you're going to see there. I'm going to go for those long serves. And you can see where I haven't moved my feet there. And I'm trying again. I'm love 3 down, but I'm trying to be aggressive. So Gio's probably got the message about this stage that I'm not going to go back. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to blast back at him and try and mix up the pace how I like it. And I got away with it there. I got a good block in. Gio did have an opportunity to attack, but fortunately missed it. So we're 3-1. And there I'm doing a little roll with the pips to break up the game. Get into that forehand. And just a different flavour. There's a different style to the game now against how I normally play Gio. And now I'm coming in and I'm having a go at him and seeing whether I can make him miss a little bit, put a little bit of pressure on him, force the ball at him rather than him always whacking the ball at me. And obviously there's still going to be a lot to learn, but I'm hopeful that I can continue to improve. So I'm going to twiddle occasionally. I'm looking to hit big forehands whenever possible, and then recover and hit a second one. You can see Gio's running away a bit there. So at this point I'm quite pleased with that. I've put some pressure on. I'm in the game. I'm mixing up the balls there. That's where I found I need to work on in this match against Gio, is my second ball. When I've hit a good attack, the ball's come up and I've got to look to start hitting that with some power rather than just softly looping it like I usually do. So I'm going to be working on that in the future for a powerful second ball off a high one to get a real power kill. And Gio does his thing. I loop to the wrong spot. I'll put it right to his slot, and he bashed it away. And remember, although I'm trying to do stuff, Gio's got his own plans going on to get in, to serve, get a good serve, set up his forehand, bash it away, or set up that punch like there and put that away. So we're mixing styles, mixing tactics a little bit. Good, good idea, good open. Try to open with the smooth on the backhand, and there I'm running around it again. So I'm not out of things. it's certainly a different type of game, not a great serve return, and that's another thing I'll need to work on is my flick return of serve, a good return of serve there, and definitely a different flavour to the game when I'm standing up close to Gio. He's getting good shots, but he's no longer picking the ball off at will, and I'm forcing some shots through, and sure I'm making some mistakes, and I'm going to keep making mistakes as long as my footwork, as you could see in that last point, as long as my footwork's not so good, as long as I stay too upright, I'm going to have some problems. But where I'm going to be working on is I'm going to be looking at basically getting my footwork wide and low, working at taking the ball probably 6 inches further to my right on my forehand, so that my elbow's not tucked in close to my body, but it's out a little bit further, so that I'm getting a bit more leverage. I don't want a straight arm, but I definitely want to take the ball a bit further away and work on a little bit more leverage. And a good hit at the backhand there, and that's what I'll be looking to do on the backhand side as well, bringing in some power from time to time. Good roll, and mixing up there nicely. Okay, not the best low block, but certainly still effective. And there I had a go. And again, you can see I'm half a step slow getting around for that, and I'm hoping to improve on that. And those are the ones where I've got to work at getting into a better position so that I can really power the ball on the follow-up rather than hitting it medium soft. And yep, had a go. And that's okay. That's a good positive attitude. Taking a chance when I can. And a good hit there. And so that tactically, although I'm not always executing perfectly, tactically I'm not unhappy with how I'm going here. I mix things up, give him a little bit of a hard time. And yeah, there's a sloppy shot here and there, just like that last backhand. Good roll there, had a go. Yeah, and just like I did in the video, you can see I wasn't happy with how I tried to counter loop my old lifting of the elbow. But the mixing up is making Gio make a few mistakes. So on the whole, what I'm seeing in this video is, I think, my counter loop against just an opening loop from my opponent, my ability to counter loop, I think can be improved. Gio got me there, and I'll learn that. I'll work on that. So instead of lifting it up and over, I'll get it a bit flatter. Definitely can improve the footwork still. Although I did find after these matches is that physically, he got me there. Physically, it's so much easier on my body. My legs weren't sore, my joints weren't sore after all these matches. And I think part of that is, okay, I'm still not low enough, but part of that is just instead of all that running around defending, bending from the waist, getting low to the ball, taking it sort of knee to waist level often. Now I'm taking it between sort of waist level or higher. There's a lot less bending, there's a lot less stress on the knees going on and my joints. So physically it was much easier. And whoops, missed the counter. Bit of footwork could help there. And physically the match is a lot shorter. I mean, this is a 3-game match in the end with Gio, and it takes around about 11 minutes compared to a typical 3-game match with Gio, which quite often would take me 20 minutes. So I've almost halved the amount of actual time I've got to be at the table. So that's going to cut down your physical workload too, which is important as I get older. So yeah, there's still some things to work on, but there's quite a few positives to take out of this as well. And that return to serve is something that I'm still going to have to work on consciously. So now I'm 2-0 down. At this point in the match, it's a little bit different here because I didn't feel like I'd been totally dominated by Giovanni. I'd missed a few points here and there. A lot of my misses were caused, I think, by my own technique, my own footwork problems. So I'm thinking at this point, well, I'm doing okay. Try and get low. I knew I wanted to still get lower, but not always easy. Stay aggressive, keep mixing it up, and try and hit a good forehand. And there again, I'm mixing, getting around, and not quite enough recovery on that second one. And that's, again, as I said, something I'm going to work on. And a good forehand there, moved around and got around. And you can notice, so in this style, although I'm going to play close to the table, by no means am I trying to play everything with the pips. If the ball comes to my pips, I'll deal with it appropriately, but I'm using the pips to mix up the game, mix up the pace. I'm not using the pips to try and take every ball with and sort of like hope that the pips are going to win me points just by putting the pips in the way. That doesn't work at this sort of level, not enough. So instead I'm trying to use them aggressively. I'm trying to use them to set up points, to mix up spins, twiddle them occasionally so that I can get at them with my forehand, and rather than try and cover everything with the pips, just depending on what pattern I've got and what plan I've got, try and use them in a manner that complements my game, and do it that way instead, which gives a different type of game. You can see it's a very different game to the people who play covering everything with the backhand. Much more aggressive, and again, I'll get caught like that. I'm still learning, getting used to that kind of technique and tactic. But it's again a pressuring type of game, close to the table, not defensive. It really is. It's just more an offensive game, I guess, close to the table rather than defensive. Where if I was playing a defensive game, trying to slow the pace down all the time, I'd probably use a slower rubber on the forehand, use the pips more often, and try and control the game and keep it all tight all the time. This is a little bit more open. I'm going to take some chances, take some risks, hit the ball hard, and try and set up my own power using the pips. So it's an aggressive version. It's not a better version or a worse version. It's just a different version to what you've seen on some of the videos where some of our members have played a slightly more defensive controlling style. That doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. And again, you can see here I'm hitting some decent balls. At this point it's pretty close in the third. I'm trying to stay in there. Gio got me there just because my footwork's a little bit poor, and I don't really need to run around to hit there, that kind of thing. You see me doing it? I'm running around my backhand to try and hit a forehand. I don't really want to do that too often. Occasionally, yes, but more often I either want to hit it with the pips or twiddle and hit it with the backhand, because I'm not very fast, and if I do that I get caught out of position on the block often. So I don't want to be doing a lot of running around my backhand. I actually want to be twiddling and hitting with the backhand, or basically just using the pips to break it up. And it's a tactical thing. Got to be smart about what you can and what you can't do. And at the moment, I'm not in bad physical nick, but I've never been the fastest player in the history of the game, as you can see from that sort of example. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to try and play like a professional way over the left hand side. A little bit more in the middle, taking also advantage of the fact that I do have a decent backhand with the inverted, is much more sensible for me. So we're all pretty close here at this point in the match. I'm hoping I want to get to a fourth game because I'm feeling fairly competitive and I think I could do better, and just missed that backhand roll. Okay, having watched that match, what can we take away from it? Not just for myself but for everybody. On a personal level, what I'm taking away from it, looking at that, is okay, firstly, the good news is that perhaps I can be competitive with this style against someone of Gio's calibre. And we're talking about the guy who was basically our number one this year and last year, who won our State Open last year, and been winning around about 50% of the tournaments in WA. So our number one player, I can be competitive playing this style. Does it mean that I'll beat him? No, not necessarily. As I get better at the style, I'll push Gio along. Gio may have some more in his tank. He may have a little bit more in reserve. He may go up a notch. I still may not win, but I think my standard can improve. Things to work on? Well, as you could see from there, you can't hide on the video the flaws, and you can see that I need to work on a return of serve, my footwork, getting wide, getting low, working on not running around my backhand so much. No, don't get stuck way out on my forehand. Work on my second forehand. When I've hit a good forehand or a good attack, working on the follow-up, staying low, staying balanced, and bringing power, good balanced power to the follow-up ball, rather than standing up, getting unbalanced and not being able to hit the second ball hard. So some stuff to definitely work on there. Pips wise, I'm not too unhappy with the way I'm using the pips close to the table. I did feel in this match against Giovanni that I could probably need to practice the roll a bit more. It's just a little bit faster than my old blade. That's just not a technique thing as much as just getting used to the pace. So yeah, and technically also on my forehand, get a little bit further away from the ball, 6 inches to 9 inches further away, to stretch my arm a little bit more, get a little bit more leverage and a little bit more power. And if I can do that, I'll be happy with my forehand technique, the basics. So what can we take away from it other than that? Well, you can see here against a good player, Giovanni, who's often, as you've seen in the past videos from earlier times, Giovanni has at times dominated me when I've been chopping. Here the match changes. I'm again instead fighting for my own. The points are short, quite competitive. I'm pushing sometimes Giovanni back from the table. I'm trying to refuse to go back myself. I'm putting him under a little bit more pressure, a little bit more speed, and he doesn't like it as much because he doesn't have as much time to set up his attacks. So those are some good things for me. Bearing in mind, of course, that I don't think I'll ever be as fast as Giovanni. I'm never going to have that lightning speed that he does. But I certainly can put him under more pressure and don't let him dominate the match so much. I can certainly fight harder. And it also, from a general point of view, it goes to show that there are many different ways to tackle playing close to the table. What you're seeing here is an aggressive close to the table play using trying to be fairly balanced. I'm opening a lot on my forehand, using the pips on the backhand, but also twiddling and hitting the first attack on the backhand quite a lot too. So I'm not only playing attacks off my forehand side or only playing attacks off my backhand side. So it's a balanced use of aggression. It's also much more aggressive than some of the defensive playing using all the pips or trying to control the ball and keep it tight. And again, just a different style. This is the way I'm going to play an aggressive, balanced offense, whereas you could play an aggressive style using mainly your forehand for the weapon. You could play an aggressive style trying to use the pips all the time and break up your opponent and put him under pressure, hitting with the pips a lot because some people don't like it. Or you could play defensively. So we do have a lot of options on how we choose to play. All can be effective, and it's up to us to then just make the most of our own preferences, our own styles, and our own weapons. And for me, looking at the weapons I have, which is a good use of pips, a good backhand, a forehand that I think I can improve the technique, and some of my weaknesses where I'm not so fast, physically moving around, although my reflexes aren't bad. I can't physically take a lot of moving around. This style's a bit more forgiving. So it's really just a matter of trying to work in with what you've got, hide your weaknesses to a certain extent, and from there on in, keep looking at video footage, keep looking at what you're doing, and keep trying to improve it so that you make the most of your own potential, whatever that may be. And if it turns out that I think I can play looking from this a little bit better, I think I can certainly go up a level or two, and I'll work towards that. And it may not be top Australian national standard, and that's fine. I'll just aim to do the best that I can with what I've got, and in the end that's all any of us can really do. So again, thanks for listening. I've got some more videos probably coming up in the future, hopefully from the State Open, which is on this week, and of course more demo videos and other videos coming through as well. So stay tuned, and there'll be more stuff to come in the future. Thanks.